Okay, in 9.2, we're going to be talking about two shapes today. The first shape we're going to talk about is the circle. So, circle, you all know what that shape is. A, not a polygon. It's where all the points are equidistant from the center. And we talk about circles, we use this symbol. This means circle A. And the radius is only half of the circle. It goes from the center to any point outside on the outside of the circle, and the diameter is when you have two radii. So it goes through the center. CD is the radii. CD is the diameter. We could say that AB is a radius. We could also say that just AD is also a radius. And when you have two or more radiuses, we call them radii. Okay, so the two formulas that we want to remember for circles is the area is pi times the radius squared, and circumference. Circumference is like the perimeter of the circle. So if you were walking on the outside, how far would that be? So we use circumference to talk about perimeter circles. Circumference, there's two formulas. You could do 2 times pi r, or you can do pi times the diameter. So those are the two formulas or three formulas that we could use when it comes to circles. And it's pretty cool to think about the circle. If you take this circle right here and you cut up the pi pieces and laid them like this, you can see that they start looking like a parallelogram. And we know for a parallelogram that area is base times height. So if you look at the base is half of the circumference, right? Because this would be one part, this would be the bottom part, and then this blue part of the circle would be the top part, this part right here. So to find out half the circumference, we know that circumference is 2 pi r. And what would half of that be? Half of that would be just pi r. So that's how they got pi r right here. They said it's half the circumference. And then what would the height of this parallelogram be? Well, the height is going to be from the center to the outside circle. We know that that's the radius. So we know that the height is the radius. So if you plug those two things in, the base we said was pi times r, and we said that the height was another radius. What's r times r? That's r squared. And that's how they get area equals pi r squared. So now that we know these formulas, there's some types of questions that I could ask you. The most basic is just to find the perimeter. The circumference or the area. So this question wants you to find the area. You have to memorize that that's pi r squared. And in this case, I tell you that the whole diameter is 6 inches, in which case the radius would be half of that. So the radius would be 3. And if you plug that in here, you have pi times 3 squared. And then, 3 squared is 9. You can leave it like that, but if it's a multiple choice test and pi is not in your answer, that means you actually have to calculate it out. So 9 times pi, or times 3.14, is... oops, I did that wrong. 9, where's my pi button? I forgot. 9 times 3.14 is about 28.6. 28.26, excuse me. So, either answers are okay by me, but if it's a multiple choice test, you need to know which answers they're looking for by looking at your answer choices. So that's how you do area. If I wanted you to find the circumference, you could use 2 pi r, or you could use pi times d. Now, since they give you the diameter, it would be preferable to use this one, because all you'd have to do is, you already know the diameter is 6, multiply that by pi. Again, 6 pi is an okay answer. If it's a multiple choice test and you see decimals, then you have to physically multiply 6 times 3.14, and you get 18.84 inches. All right, so that's the most basic type of question. The next type of question I'm going to ask you is to work backwards. So in this case, I'm already telling you that what the circumference is. The circumference is 65x plus 14 pi. And they want us to work backwards, and we want to know what is r. Well, we know that the most basic formula for circumference, the one dealing with an r, is 2 pi r. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute these two together, and we're going to say 2 pi r equals 65x plus 14 times pi. And this looks confusing. Again, all I did was I took out the c's because they're the same, and I put these two things together. And we're solving for r. That's the variable we want to get all by itself. So we want to get this all by itself. So the opposite of multiplying 2 pi times r is dividing by 2 pi. So you're going to take this and you're going to divide everything by 2 pi. Everything by 2 pi. So when you do that, these cancel out, and the pi's cancel out. So now what you have left is r equals 65x plus 14, all divided by 2. And can you simplify this even more? Of course you can. You could say 65 divided by 2 is 32.5, and 14 divided by 2 is 7. We cannot solve for x. They didn't give us enough information. This is what your radius is. And if you wanted to check it because you're not sure, you'd go ahead and you'd take your radius and you'd plug it in here, and you should get what this was. All right, so this one is working backwards. I'm telling you what the circumference is. Tell me what the radius is. That's the only dimensions of a circle. Okay, this one is an even better question. This time I want you to find the circumference, but I don't tell you what the radius is. I tell you what the area is. So we're going to use both equations to figure out what the circumference is. So we know area is 25x squared. We want to ultimately figure out what c is, and we know c is 2 pi r. So in order to use this equation, we have to figure out what is our r, what is the radius. And we can use our given information to figure out what our r is. And we know that area is pi r squared, and we know that our area is also 25x squared. So you're going to substitute those two equations together, and you're going to say 25x squared equals pi r squared. And then you're going to solve for r. So this is what you want to get by itself. So to do that, you're going to divide both sides by pi. Divide by pi. I know this looks ugly. And then you're going to square root the r squared. And then you're going to square root. I have a feeling I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? 25x squared pi r squared. Oh wait, did I say? Yeah, it has pi in it. Area equals 25. Area equals. Wait. What did I do? Pi r squared. I'm missing my pi right here. Okay, good. I knew that was supposed to cross out. Okay, these canceled out too, and these canceled out here. So what we have for r squared is 25x squared. These pi's were supposed to cancel out. Awesome. So to do radius, the square root. These cancel out, now you have r. What's the square root of 25? Square root of 25 is 5. And what's the square root of x squared? That would just be x. So now you have your radius just equals 5x. And that's your first step. The second step is to take your r and plug it back into this equation. So we have c equals 2 times pi times your 5x. And you combine like terms. So 2 times 5 is 10 pi x. And in this case, just leave it like that. Don't go ahead and don't do the decimal form because I'm pretty sure they won't want that. And that's your circumference. And let's see. So yeah, so those are the 3 types of questions I'm going to ask you. Just the basic, what's the area, what's the circumference formula question. To work backwards and find the radius given the circumference, or I could give you the area. And then this one, the most difficult type of question was I give you one formula and you have to figure out what the radius is and plug it into the other formula. Those are the 3 types of questions I'm going to ask you about circles.